dear colleagues. Today we'll discuss about central venous catheterization. The plan of the talk will be why we have to put the central line and when we should not, that is contraindications, the basic principles, technique of central line insertion, complications, specifics, sites for insertion of central line, and tips. So why we need central line? Central line gives a direct access to the heart, and it is put in emergency situations for volume resuscitation. Suppose a patient comes to the emergency with RTA and has lost a lot of blood. That time, when we have to replace volume, that time you can put patient with cardiac arrest or a very hypovolemic patient whom the peripheral access is not easily accessible. In elective situations for CVP monitoring, CKD patients who are undergoing regular hemodialysis, or suppose we have done any GI surgeries or bowel resections and patients requiring total parenteral nutrition or to correct dyselectrolytemia and infusion of concentrated solutions and cardiac catheterization.
Can you dilate on that concentrated solution, please? What are the kinds of solutions?
Sir, suppose, sir, albumin, when we are giving albumin to the patient in cases of hypoproteinemia.
No, not correct. Albumin is not an irritant. Concentrated solutions have to be irritants. Sorry?
KCl, sir. KCl.
Potassium, correct. Potassium is one of them, yes. TPN, it's not albumin.
TPN.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
In TPN, what is it that causes irritation? Is it lipid, is it glucose, or is it protein?
Protein, sir.
More than the protein, it is glucose. Protein too. But at 25% glucose or 50% glucose that you use is highly irritant. So protein too. But among them, the best, the most vein-friendly solution is fat. Okay? And that's why you put all of them together, and that can be used in the peripheral line. That's a concept of peripheral TPN.
You're not dialed in.
Sorry? Was there a question? Yeah. Okay. So please understand that in terms of vein irritation, concentrated glucose and potassium top the list. Protein comes second, and fat is very good. All right. So that is the concentrated solutions. Albumin itself can be given in a peripheral vein. It doesn't necessarily need a central line. All right. All right. Ravi has a question. Do we have to infuse albumin? I think we'll skip that for now. We'll skip that for now.
Because
and you know, I mean, that is getting into the indications for albumin. But let us focus on central line today. And Saurav makes a good point, chemotherapeutic drugs. That is true.
Yes.
They are big time irritants of the vein. Please continue.
Yes. Some relative contraindications, like patient is having a bleeding disorder or is on anticoagulation or thrombolytic therapy for ischemic heart disease. The combative patients, the uncooperative patients whom when we are not attending them, then they can pull out the catheter, or distorted local anatomy, like in carcinoma breast patients when we and fungating CA breast, where we cannot get access to the subclavian, the patients with burns or vasculitis. Before inserting an central line, we should have a bed which can be placed with head down position, an oxygen supply, pulse oximeter should be functioning on the patient, blood pressure cuff, crash cart with cardiac monitor. In case of in case the patient goes bad, we should be ready to resuscitate. sterile gloves, gown, mask, cap, and face shield because of the recent coronavirus, and central venous catheters. Then the materials required we'll need a local anesthetic, 20 gauge needle, 2 cc syringe for injection of anesthetic, 10 cc syringe for flushing on insertion of central line, gauze pieces, chlorhexidine antiseptics, gloves, guide wire, dilator, and scalpel with 11 number blade. So hand washing is very important because
We've lost you,
that's
Ajit. We have lost your audio. Can you go back to the beginning of the slide? We can't hear you, Ajit. Can you go back to the beginning of the slide? No, all these are okay.
yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Say something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Come, not the beginning of the presentation, beginning of the slide. Come down. We couldn't hear you from next one, from this slide onwards. No. Next one.
This
Next
one.
slide. Yeah, please start from here. Yeah, we couldn't hear you at. No,
Okay,
you
sir.
have to go back one slide. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Explain this slide.
Sir, this is the requirements before inserting a central line.
Yeah.
The person who is inserting a central line should do proper hand washing and should wear a sterile gown, mask, cap, gloves, and a face shield. Should have a antiseptic for the preparation of the part, and there should be proper draping. Only the small area with where we are intending to insert should be visible.
Yeah. Dr. Ravi Shankar makes the point that superior vena cava obstruction is a contraindication for central line. There's a rider that you can add. Central vein need not necessarily be for the superior vena cava. So while yes, jugular or subclavian cannot be used for an SVC obstruction, if you're desperate, you can reach the IVC, and that also counts as a central line insertion. And Nishant, he will talk to you about all the details of the central line, where and how and all that. And Munishekar Reddy says, what is an absolute contraindication? Why don't you say that yourself, Muni? Because you put
wherever we are going to put central line, that since skin site infection and thrombosis of our target veins.
He has mentioned that, no? Wherever cellulitis, burns,
Cellulitis,
dermatitis,
burns.
that's what he means. So
Okay.
that has already been mentioned. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
go ahead, Ajit.
Yes. So when we discuss about central line insertion, it is necessary for us to know Seldinger technique. Seldinger was a radiologist.
Press B. Right. Janani, tell me what Seldinger technique is.
Sir, it is a technique where we'll pass the catheter with guide wire. So
Okay.
after inserting the catheter, we'll remove the guide wire
Mhm.
and we'll see if the catheter is in place.
All right. So what is the process of putting a guide wire?
First, when we put central line, we'll first place our needle with syringe, and if
Correct. You locate the
we
vein.
should locate the vein.
Correct.
Yes, sir. We should locate the vein.
And then put a
and
guide wire.
Hold the.
Correct.
We should put the guide wire, and over that we should pass the.
Thank you. Ajit, press B again and continue.
I think Janani, you forgot the dilatation.
That doesn't matter.
part.
Go on.
Yes,
That's
sir.
go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So other things are right. After the placing, you should always remove the wire because it is unsafe for the patient, and you can land up in trouble if you leave the wire. And catheter should be secured in place, and proper dressing applied. So we should really decide before inserting a central line that if it is really necessary, we should be thorough with our anatomy. All the equipment needed for the central line insertion should be ready when you are near the patient. The patient should be in optimal position and should be fully cooperative. You should not be in a hurry while putting a central line, and use of sterile technique is must. When you are inserting, you should always have your hand on the wire. In case you are facing some difficulty, you can always ask for help from your colleague or a senior. Whenever you are putting the needle, you have to aspirate slowly. And post procedure, always obtain a chest X-ray to see the position as well as to see if there are any complications. Now I'll discuss about some specific sites for central line insertion. Internal jugular vein. The advantage for insertion into internal jugular vein is that the bleeding, if it occurs, it can be easily recognized and controlled. And when the catheter is placed in IJV, the malposition is rare and it has a lesser risk of pneumothorax. While there is a risk of puncturing the carotid artery, and it can give discomfort to the patient while doing neck movements. Here we can see a post catheter insertion which has a direct access to the SVC. So position, mostly a right side is preferred, and head of the patient should be turned slightly away from the side. So the patient should be facing to the left. You have to locate the triangle formed by the clavicle and sternal and clavicular heads of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Now place your fingers on the carotid, and 30 to 40 degrees you have to place the needle lateral to the carotid artery and aim towards the ipsilateral nipple along the medial border of lateral head of sternocleidomastoid. Vein is around approximately 1 to 1.5 centimeter deep. You should not go more deeper than that. While in subclavian, it is the most comfortable for conscious patients, but it has a disadvantage of highest risk of pneumothorax among the three, and it should not be done on intubated patients. There is a controversy in the pediatric age group. Some people say that below 2 years of age, subclavian central line should not be attempted, and the bleeding, if it occurs, since the vein is non-compressible, the bleeding is difficult to control. So it will be put at around the as shown in the picture, the junction of middle and medial point of the clavicle.
Medial third.
Medial third of the clavicle.
If you divide the clavicle into 3 parts, so it's done at the junction of the medial 1/3 and the lateral 2/3 of the clavicle. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's also a point where the clavicle, when you feel it, takes a turn backwards. You know, it turns backwards
Yes.
with the patient in a
Yes, sir.
supine position. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So right side is always preferred. The patient should be in supine position with head neutral and arm abducted, and in Trendelenburg position, 10 to 15 degrees. The shoulders should be neutral with mild retraction, which the doctor who is inserting should be comfortable while placing the catheter.
Hari, why should he be Trendelenburg, head down? Are you there, Hari? Not there? Manita,
Prevent air embolism, sir.
does it prevent air embolism?
Whatever air.
What actually prevents air embolism? Making sure that you block the tube as soon as you access the vein, block the catheter or the needle. As soon as you enter the vein, keep it blocked and never open it unless it is for extremely short periods of time for maneuvers. So some air might get in, but what is more important than actual prevention? It takes away the ill effects of air entering the vein. How does it do that when the patient is head down? What happens if the patient is head up when you put a central line and air enters into the vein? Work it out. After entering the vein, where will the air go? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you a hypothetical situation where the patient is head up, all right, and you put the needle into the vein, air enters. Where does it go?
Into
Ajit.
the brain.
Yes, that is the point. So when air enters, it goes into the brain and they get a stroke. It has no chance of, there's a big blob of air, remember. Okay, even if it's 10, 20 ml, there's a blob of air, a bubble that goes into the brain and it can give him a stroke. Whereas the same bubble, if it goes into the atrium, what happens? It gets churned up. Okay, it gets churned up and becomes very small bubbles, and then it goes into the pulmonary circulation, but the brain is spared. And because it is churned up, it doesn't even have, doesn't even cause any major loss of tissue in the lungs. Okay, that is why the patient has to be head down. There is another advantage of being head down. What is that? Ajit kept on saying earlier. Ajit saying that if the patient is has lost blood and is unable to, you're unable to get access to the peripheral vein. He says go for a central line. So what does he actually mean by that? Ajit, do you want to take that?
Sir, CVP, yes, sir. CVP should, when we are placing the patient in Trendelenburg,
Yeah.
the CVP will be raised. So
even if the patient is hypovolemic, you will have a better filling of the central veins in a head down position. So those are the two advantages of the patient being head down. One is to reduce the ill effects of air embolism. Second is that you will get an engorgement or a filling of the central veins in head down, which will make your access easier. Please continue, Ajay.
Yes. There is a small video on subclavian vein catheterization.
Just pause it for a minute. Sorry, there's one. Pause it for a minute. Yeah. One of the other things that he has not mentioned, which is very important in the positioning, is to put a little folded towel between the scapulae.
Shoulders.
In between the scapulae, a little below the shoulders, so that the arm or the deltoid area is thrown back. Okay, if the deltoid is crouched forward like this, then you won't get the correct angle for the subclavian. So you must put a little roll of towel or a small bed sheet between the scapulae longitudinally, not horizontally, so that the shoulders fall back. Shoulders fall back. Continue, Ajit, please.
Yes. So you should get your equipment ready. You should mark the place where you want to insert and paint and drape the area. The area should be fully sterile. Then only the part where you intend to insert the central line should be exposed. Give a local anesthetic adequately. Give time to act. Then insert a needle into the vein. Aspirate. And when you get a aspiration, you have to connect the catheter, and you can here we can see post procedure X-ray of subclavian vein catheterization.
All right, go on.
The other place you can put a femoral central line, but it is rarely put and only in emergency situations. Because it has highest risk of infection. Whenever possible, you should replace it with IJV or subclavian vein. The advantage of femoral central line insertion, it is easier to find. There is no risk of pneumothorax, and it can be used for emergencies and CPR. So there is the patient, it should not be inserted in ambulatory patients, because when they walk there can be dislodgement of the catheter and risk of bleeding.
Basically, this is mentioned for the sake of completion. This is
Yes.
not a recommended procedure. Please continue.
Yes. So while inserting, you should know the anatomy, the old mnemonic vein, artery, nerve. So vein will be the most medial. The patient should be in supine position. The needle should be placed medial to the femoral artery at 45-degree angle, and it should the skin insertion should be 2 centimeter below the inguinal ligament. It should always aim towards the umbilicus.
Ajay, Nishant makes the point, should we be pre-filling the fluids with elective central venous catheterization? Not a bad idea at all. If it is not an emergency and you have time, always, if you have a peripheral access, give them a liter of fluid, fill them up.
Yes.
You will have better success rates with your central line. Go on.
Yes, sir. So post catheter placement, you have to aspirate blood from each part, then flush with saline or sterile water. Sorry. Then secure the catheter and cover that area with sterile dressing. Obtain chest X-ray and write a procedure note.
Go on. Can all of you mute your mics, please? There is a lot of background noise. Kindly mute your mics. Go on. Ajit, what's happening? Go on.
So in procedure note, you have to write where you have placed the catheter. Then name what was the indication, whether a consent was obtained. Describe what you did, including what material did you use for preparation of the skin. Comment that whether you had aspirated or flushed the ports, and how well did the patient tolerate the procedure, and whether there were any complications.
All right. Ajit, one sec. Janani asked the question, why do you prefer the right side? Janani, I'll put it back to you. It has to do with the anatomy of the major veins at the inlet of the thorax. So can you tell me the anatomy there?
Sir, I'm not very sure, sir. That's why.
Okay, which means you were not listening to Ajit. Ajit, go back. I'm sorry, it's a little digression, but go back 7-8 slides where you showed the anatomy of the necks of the veins in the neck. All right, now can you be sure? Can you talk about, is there another one where even the clavicles are removed? Ajit, go back. Is it the only one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then stay with it. That's good enough. Yeah. So you trace the veins on the right and the left from the axillary vein, Janani. It's a good exercise.
Yes, sir. From left side.
Do the right one first. Good. Very nice, Ajit. Yeah. Okay. Do the right one first.
Yes, sir. Here, from here to.
You just describe it. You can't show on the picture.
Sir, from
axillary
below
becomes
the clavicle.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. From below the clavicle, the axillary vein enters behind the clavicle at the mid-third.
Yeah.
Mid-third of clavicle.
Yeah.
And it goes up as external jugular vein.
Oi. Axillary vein becomes a subclavian vein.
Subclavian vein, and
Thank
then
you.
the
And then what
it
happens?
branches,
Subclavian vein is joined by which other major vein from the neck?
brachiocephalic vein, and
Subclavian vein on the right side is joined by brachiocephalic.
No, sir.
I give up. Ajit, please quickly spoon
Sir,
feed her.
I,
Quickly
I,
spoon
I,
feed her.
sir,
Ajit,
sir,
go on.
it will join the IJV
Yeah.
to form the brachiocephalic, and it will then drain into the superior vena cava.
On the right side, am I getting something wrong?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
IJV and subclavian join to form the superior vena cava on the right side. On the left side, subclavian and IJV join to become the brachiocephalic, which goes behind the sternum, and then joins the confluence of
Yes.
the on the right side and becomes the superior vena cava. And Janani, in this, which has a longer course to reach the superior vena cava?
sir, left side, sir.
Yeah. Now you have the answer for that, your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. To
Sir, I
reach the,
thought one more reason was
yeah.
left side, the
in-
lung is higher up than the right side. I was thinking about
No.
that. but-
Not too sure. Not too
No,
sure
no.
about that. Not too sure about
Okay.
that.
No, no.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Go on.
No.
Continue, Ajit.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, we have come to the complications. I wanted to ask Vanita, because all the Sagar PGs knows about this patient. Vanita, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a 45-year-old gentleman who had met with an accident and came to us with head injury. He was intubated, central line was put. Now, what can you please comment on this X-ray?
Say something. Keep saying something, Vanita. Absence, silence somehow doesn't look good. Say something. It's an X-ray, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
X-ray chest PA view, sir.
Start off. That's fine. Yeah. Is it PA or AP view?
AP view, sir.
Correct. Why do you say it's AP?
Sir, one thing is scapulae were diverging, sir.
No, there are so many things that are there, no? It's skewed. There's an endotracheal tube. Obviously, he's sitting in the ICU. All right?
Yes, sir.
So it's likely to be, nobody will do a PA in that. Okay, next. Diaphragms are up, so the patient is supine. The patient is really not vertical like you would get in a classic PA chest view. Yeah, go on.
And there are fractures of ribs I can see, sir.
Where?
Multiple fractures. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4th, I think, sir. 4th, 5th, and 6th on right side, sir. And even on left side also, I think.
Anybody else sees fractures? Ajit, do you see fractures?
No, sir. No, there
You
are
don't
no
see fractures. No
Vanita, what is
fractures.
this? This one.
That should be central vein, I think, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, that is catheter put in the IJV, right IJV. What is this? The patient is a CKD patient. What is this? I have given you a hint.
Dialysis.
Yeah.
So this is dialysis catheter.
Dialysis catheter, endotracheal tube in the middle.
Here. There.
Endotracheal tube in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you see?
What is this? Fozia, do you want to answer?
Pneumothorax?
Yeah.
Yes.
On the-
Yes. Yes.
Can you show the area above the clavicle in the same line vertical? Where you showed the pneumothorax. Go up and show above the clavicle. Above the clavicle. Yeah. There. What do you see there? You don't see on the other side. That is surgical emphysema. She has got air. He or she has got air under the skin. Okay, which can be a part of your pneumothorax where air can track upwards. Commonest complication of central line. Go on, Ajit. Next.
Yes, sir. we had put a ICD for it. Now here you can see a good expansion of the lung post ICD insertion.
All right.
So the complications, as we have already discussed, air embolus, arterial puncture, hematomas, infections. The patient can go into dysarrhythmias, then catheter malposition, nerve injuries, pneumothorax, or bowel or bladder perforation, which are very, very rare in femoral central line. So pneumothorax is a nil in femoral vein, and it has the highest chances in subclavian vein, while the infection rate is the highest in femoral vein, because that groin area will not be as hygienic as the neck area. So central line associated bloodstream infections are
One sec,
confirmed.
Ajit, I'll interrupt you because there is one good question related to pneumothorax. What should be the time interval between the insertion of your central line and a chest X-ray to detect pneumothorax?
I don't know the answer.
Anybody wants to take that question?
Say immediately you have to take it. No?
Any other views? Yeah. If the patient becomes breathless, take it immediately. Otherwise, this is not evidence-based. There are no papers on this, but our practice has been to take it 3 to 4 hours after insertion. Because if it's a very small puncture, either it gets sealed off or it leaves enough air for you to detect only a few hours after the procedure. Obviously, if he gets breathless, either immediately after insertion or anytime when you're waiting for these 3-4 hours, it is definitely important to get a chest X-ray straight away. And what is even more important is that a small puncture, which may not be seen with a patient who is spontaneously breathing, can be a big issue when the patient is ventilated. So if you put a central line and find that the patient has no pneumothorax, but if you start him on a ventilator or start ventilating him a few hours later or the next day, it is a good idea to repeat the chest X-ray after starting ventilation, because that itself may induce a pneumothorax which was not detected on a spontaneously breathing patient. That is the thing that we have to learn. Okay, central line. Go on, Ajit.
So central line associated bloodstream infection is defined as a laboratory confirmed bloodstream infection not related to an infection at another site, and which develops after 48 hours of central line insertion. It is a huge cost burden for the patient. However, it can be prevented. It manifests with fevers and chills. The overall rate of central line associated bloodstream infection is around 17 per 1000 catheter days and 14.2 per 1000 inpatient days. This is a figure I am quoting from study conducted in North India with 3000 sample size. Host factors that increase the risk of central line associated infections are if the patient is chronically ill with having malignancy or GI disorders or undergoing hemodialysis. Then if he is immune suppressed, like has received a organ transplant or diabetes, malnutrition, the patient who are receiving TPN, patients with extremes of age, burns patient, and who have had prolonged hospitalization before central line insertion. There are independent risk factors like catheter type. Now the antibiotic impregnated catheters are available in the market, which can decrease the central line infection. So the condition of insertion, what setting the central line was inserted, whether it was an emergency or elective procedure, whether the sterile precautions were maintained or not. Catheter care. So the nursing care is very important in preventing the catheter line infection, and also depends on the skill of the operator.
Ajit, this issue, the jury is still out. whether antibiotic impregnated catheters cause less infection than the normal ones. The jury is still out. What is very important is the technique of insertion where you ensure complete asepsis and maintenance of the catheter, particularly the entry site and the regular dressings that you put, and the way they administer drugs into the central vein. That is the commonest risk factor. If you don't wash your hands, don't use sterile catheter, sterile technique in even injecting drugs through that central line or changing your saline bottles, they are the ones that give you infection. So antibiotic impregnated can be considered, but that's not the gold standard.
Yes.
All right, go on.
So what we do is we send the catheter, remove the catheter, send the tip for culture, send blood cultures, start the patient on empirical therapy, and specific antibiotics can be given after we see a growth in the culture. So infections can be prevented with, as we discussed, use of antibiotic impregnated catheters. We can choose a site which gives a minimum infection, like subclavian. Sterile precautions, use of sterile precautions by the surgeon or the anesthetist. Do not apply the antibiotic ointments on the surface, and the catheter hubs have to be disinfected. You should not schedule a routine catheter change, and you should daily assess whether the central line is required for the patient or not, and remove the catheters when they are no longer in use. Then you should recognize the risk factors for difficult catheterization. You should seek assistance from experienced clinician. Avoid femoral as far as possible, and you can use ultrasound guidance, which is becoming a standard of insertion of central line. Then some special tips for central line insertion. If even after 3 to 4 times you are not able to put a central line, you should ask someone else to try. Get a chest X-ray after an unsuccessful attempt, because you might the patient might go into pneumothorax. And if attempt at one side fails, you should always try on the same side, because otherwise you will be giving the patient bilateral complications. And hold the positive pressure ventilation as a needle penetrates the chest wall in subclavian. If you meet resistance while inserting the guide wire, withdraw slightly and rotate and re-advance. Align the bevel with syringe markings. Use the vein on the same side as the pneumothorax, and withdraw slowly. You'll often hit the vein. Then there will be loss of resistance on the way out. So ultrasound guided central venous access, it is becoming the standard of care. The vein is accessed under direct visualization, and it is helpful in patients with difficult anatomy. It has the lower complication rate, and the ultrasound, if it is used, does not cause any additional time for the procedure. The patient, while inserting the CVC, should be in supine position. Sterile drapes are used. Then the ultrasound.
You have already shown this, Ajit. You have already shown all this in the
yes.
demo. Yeah, please skip this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sir.
you've shown this. Yeah.
Here it is important to note that the vein will be compressible. When you pull the artery, it will not compress. The vein will be compressible. So you have to put central line into that. So this is this was a study conducted showing that most of the central lines will be inserted in the first attempt itself. So experienced person should attempt the central line. And take home message from our today's topic is that it constitutes a vital part of the surgical patients with undergoing major surgeries, traumas, and surgeons should know that everything in detail about the central line insertion.
All right, thank you, Ajit. Before I leave it open to discussion, I have a few questions which perhaps you would like to take. What about infection in a Hickman catheter? You know what a Hickman catheter is?
No, sir.
All right, anybody else? Saurabh?
No, sir, I've not heard of it.
All right, Ravi, do you want to say a few things about it then?
Yeah, see, the Hickman and Grosjean lines are used specifically for home parental nutrition or for long-term TPN. So they are dedicated feeding lines that are inserted, and sometimes they are also inserted for the chemotherapy. But chemotherapy usually have a port, but the Hickman line does not have a port. So in a subcutaneous port, which the chemotherapy can be injected into. So the main thing is that the infections in these. See, I think Ajit, when you talked about it, you should have given a bit more stress about the line care. I think whether it is central line or the dedicated feeding lines, line care is very important, and I think you didn't spend enough time on that. But the most important thing is that you should make sure that sterility is. Dr. Lakshman mentioned that you didn't. So the most important thing is sterility is maintained by the nurses who will deal with this. The difference between a central line which is inserted for general purposes to feeding lines or for lines which are inserted for chemotherapy is you don't take them out if there is any suspicion of infection. What you do is you stop using these lines, you take the blood culture through the line, and then wait and see what the infection is. If it is fungal infection, you are forced to take the line out because it is impossible to eradicate fungal infection from a dedicated feeding line. But if it is bacterial infection, you can infuse antibiotics through the line and by and large repeat the culture after a week, and then once the line is clear, you can start using it again. So that is the advantage of using this one. Difference between an ordinary central line catheter, which has to be removed when there is suspicion of infection, but dedicated feeding lines, you can wait, and if you cannot eradicate, if the patient is getting septic, then it is a different thing. But most of the time we have salvaged these lines because they are difficult to insert, and because the patient needs it long term, you cannot take the decision about removing it at the first instance.
If I may add to that, infections are a bugbear of TPN, and particularly, as Ravi said, long-term TPN, home TPN and things like that. A lot of work has gone on in that. Perhaps you are focusing on the acute situation, trauma, post-surgery, things like that. So nutrition may not be a thing, but it's good to learn about it here. There is a concept of a triple culture assessment of central line infections. Now, the theory behind it is very simple. Suppose somebody is bacteremic or septicemic, particularly in the ICU with a central line. One cannot presume that it is coming from the central line. Okay, one will have to consider other sources of sepsis, intra-abdominal, UTI, chest, or whatever. So what you have to do is get a peripheral line culture. That is what the bacteremia will throw up. Then you have to get a central line culture. So you're basically drawing blood from the central line, and if central line biofilm, this concept of biofilm you must know, which forms around the central line. Now, if biofilm is what is infected, then you may get bugs which are different from the one that you get in a peripheral culture, because peripheral culture may be from somewhere else. And when you get a central line culture, in addition to that circulating blood, it may also grow up some other organisms. And the third and final arbiter of whether it is a central line or not is the catheter tip culture. Catheter tip will not grow anything other than a central line culture. If that culture coincides with the peripheral blood culture, then if it's the same bug, if it's the same bacteria or fungus, that is the source. So this is the concept of a triple culture assessment of central line infections. All right, are you clear with that? And Nishant makes a point about stopping the ventilation when you puncture the pleura and not necessarily the chest wall. This man, my friend, is a thorough man. Okay, it's true that when you're looking at the skin or the muscles of the chest wall, you need not stop ventilation. But Nishant, I have to disagree with you there, because I would stop it as you're entering. Because how do you know whether you're in the muscle or in the extra pleural space or about to puncture the pleura? You don't know the thickness of the chest wall. So particularly when you're not very experienced in putting these in, as you go through the skin, stop the ventilation for a few seconds so that you do not, the patient's lungs are not blown up or inflated at the time of your insertion of the pleura. Okay, but that's a theoretical point that you need to bear in mind. Now, can I invite comments from the seniors, please? Ramkrishna. Ramkrishna, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am there.
Really, sir?
Nothing, sir. Almost everything is exhaustive.
Okay.
You have explained everything. No doubts about that.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right, Nishant. Comments?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, first and foremost, how do we manage guide wire fractures?
Yeah, that's
Or
a
a
question you
displaced
had.
guide wire?
Correct. All
I
difficult
didn't-
questions my friends ask. Atmaram is asking about brachial line catheterization. Yeah. Go on.
That is my next
what is your concept?
About guide wire fracture, sir.
All right. Yeah.
I didn't know about it. I read about it now. They say that if there is, then you do a fluoroscopic snaring of the guide wire. If not, you have to localize it and do a surgery and
Correct.
retrieve the
That is
guide
the
wire.
answer. That is the answer. I've actually in my life seen fluoroscopic, not in India, but when I was abroad in the US, in the Boston, one very smart radiologist managed to go through the same line, dilated it, put a bigger catheter, and snared the guide wire and pulled it out. Right? I actually experienced it once, but I think it's a very difficult thing, and he was lucky to get it. Most of the time, you'll end up having to do surgery for that. Brachial line catheterization. Atmaram, do you want to come in and say a few things about
If the patient
Voice is breaking. I think you should switch over to the act, Atmaram.
the lung that has come, so you can easily access from the brachial vein.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah.
It's very easy. It's like putting a peripheral line. It's just that the central line that is long.
Yeah, it is there, but it is very difficult to maintain. Its thrombosis rate is high, and so most people, it never took off the way central lines took off. It's uncomfortable to the patient. Its thrombosis rate is high, and it is difficult to maintain it. And so these are all called intra-cat. I've actually used it myself, but it never took off. But yes, that is an alternative.
Sir, I have a few more
That is the
questions.
PICC line that Jyotsna talks about, right? Peripherally inserted central line. That is the PICC line that Jyotsna has made a comment on. Yeah. Right, let's get my anesthetist friend. Any of our anesthetist friends to make comments or add to the...
Sir, actually, I have a few more questions. Can I just finish off, sir?
All right, you can.
Yes, sir. One was question regarding this peripherally inserted central lines. What are the indications and what is the gauge when compared to a central line, as if I'm not mistaken, is 16 gauge?
Yeah.
So is there any specific indication where we use these peripheral inserted central lines?
Yeah.
What is the gauge of it?
I have used are 16 and 18 gauge and PICC lines only, and rarely used, as I said. But definitely, if you are very scared to put a central line, or as we found that, as we said earlier, if there is cellulitis, infection, or burns all over the place in the neck and the upper chest area, then you can consider this. That's possible.
Facial and neck trauma.
Yeah.
Sometimes when there are cut wounds on the neck.
Yeah.
And they have a flail chest or something, peripheral central lines are good.
That
You
can
should
be-
have it in your hospital, at least just for aesthetic purposes. You should just see once.
Agreed.
And is the technique the same like this, sir? We do an ultrasound guidance and just go on pushing
You
the
don't
vein?
need
or-
an ultrasound guidance. You can just...
No, you don't need anything. It's very simple. It's putting like a peripheral line.
Go into the basilic vein, go through the basilic vein, and then thread it. That's all.
Acyclic
Okay.
vein.
Yes, and one more question for Ajit. If your indication for central venous catheterization is TPN for the patient,
Yes, sir.
in how many lumens can you give the TPN? If it's a triple lumen, are you going to give TPN in all 3 lumens? Or are you going to have one lumen dedicated for TPN?
No, only one, sir. One
Yeah,
should
and
be
you have to
dedicated,
label.
other
Yeah,
should be for medications.
yes, you have to label the whichever this one you're giving for TPN. And I know this is a bit of silly. It's a slightly sillier question. This one, out of the 3, usually I think it is white, blue, and brown. The hub of the 3 lumen cannula. Which one are you going to insert the guide wire in?
I don't know, sir.
Actually, no, it's from the reverse side. But if I'm not wrong, the brown tip is the one which has a direct through and through to the tip of the cannula.
Brown tip, yes.
That's all.
Okay.
Brown. Okay. Anesthetic friends, any comments? No comments? Unmute.
Sir, Jyotsna here.
Good. Hello, Anaru.
Sir, we avoid left-sided subclavian catheterization in view of thoracic duct presence also, sir.
Yes. Okay.
That is also, we can puncture the thoracic duct.
Good
so
point.
that,
yes.
So right side is usually preferred, sir.
Right. Good. Yeah. That's true. All right. Ravi, any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned in the chat, the first thing when you are inserting certain tips, while you are inserting, because remember the needle that you first insert is beveled. So the needle may be in the wall of the vein. So when you try to pass the guide wire, it will be difficult. It will not go in. So you have to enter the vein and insert it a little bit, another centimeter or so more, before you try to attempt inserting the guide wire. And most important thing, as I think we have all mentioned, hold on to guide wire for dear life, because if it goes in, it is very difficult to retrieve it. And then make sure that you give as much attention in securing the vein securing the catheter as much as you have done to insert it, because it is a invasive procedure and you will need it for a certain period of time. So ensure that you secure it properly. And then care of this catheter is extremely important. You have to instruct your nurses that they have to wear sterile gloves when they access this, and the dressing has to be changed regularly. Make sure that the dressing doesn't get soiled. So catheter, care is as much important to prevent line-related sepsis as much as you inserting it. And in respect to the special catheters, that is the Hickman and the Grosjean lines, they are usually inserted with a tunnel. And either using, you can use the cephalic vein in the deltopectoral groove and access the cephalic vein, and through that you insert into the subclavian, or you can use a tunnel and go into the subclavian directly. But because it has a securing device which is made up of PTFE that anchors the line, because this is for long term, because it's a long term line, so it will have a PTFE cuff. So that will anchor the catheter into the subcutaneous tissue and allow the catheter to stay for a long time. So that is with regards to the long-term lines like the Grosjean line or the Hickman line. And in respect to the chemotherapy, they use what is called as a chamber, which is chamber that is put in the subcutaneous plane, so that you can access it every time you give chemotherapy. So those are the additional points of a central line. And as Dr. Lakshman said, in terms of the triple culture, when you are removing the line, but with respect to the long-term lines, you cannot remove the line because they are very precious. So you take a peripheral culture and a culture through the central line, and then you do what is called the colony forming units. If the colony forming units in 24 hours or 48 hours is very high, that indicates it is line sepsis. And if the two organisms, both from the central line and from the periphery, are the same, then it indicates line sepsis.
All right, there's a question as to when do you routinely change a central line Unlike peripheral veins, you do not have to routinely change central lines. If they're running well, without any infection, you can use it for as long as you want to. Atmaram, your comments? Is left? Has he left? Okay. Yeah, it looks like Atmaram is left. So if he's not there, I think we will close this session now.
Sir, I have a request to make, sir.
All right, go on.
Sir, I think our PGs in Sagar, surgery PGs, should put central line, sir.
You have to give a nice smile to Jyotsna. Okay? Give her a nice smile, look after her well, take her for a coffee and request her. I always say this because as surgeons, we used to put a lot of lines and now it is completely taken over by our anesthetist friends. So you need to cooperate with them, request them and spend time in the OT and put lines in. And it's an absolutely essential skill. No doubt about it. All right. So thank you. I think it was a good class. We covered it quite well. As you might have noticed, we were focusing on the acute central line. We didn't go into the long-term central line issue in this because that's mostly done for chemotherapy and TPN, and we were basically focusing on monitoring and access for large infusions and things like this and this. But anyway, I'm glad that it came up in the discussion, and I'm sure our youngsters have learned a bit more. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night, sir.
Right.
Right, sir.